Back in Wisconsin, the Attorney General Josh Kaul weighing in today on the investigation into Green Bay City Clerk, saying the decision by the Wisconsin Elections Commission to investigate her shows how serious the state is about protecting election integrity. Chief Political Reporter Jason Zimmerman speaking with the AG this afternoon right here in our studio, and he joins us now live in the newsroom with more. Jason?
Chris, the AG says the process for complaints like this one against Green Bay City Clerk Celestine Jeffries start with the elections, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and if there's a cause for charges, those will be referred to a local district attorney's office rather than the State Department of Justice. Josh Kaul sat down with us this afternoon to speak about his campaign for a third term in office. Much of the conversation focused on election integrity, coming off the allegations against the Green Bay City Clerk. He says the biggest threat right now is actually coming from the federal government, attempting to interfere with the mail-in voting process, which Kaul says he went to court to protect. But he also believes the bipartisan State Elections Commission has an obligation to look into complaints of this nature to ensure public trust.
If you're talking about something where a mistake was made inadvertently, that may lead to one type of response. Typically, you only get prosecutors involved if there's some kind of criminal intent. But this shows that our election commission takes our election laws really seriously, and they're making sure that if there are errors made, that they're addressed.
Kaul says the Wisconsin Elections Commission has the sole authority when deciding whether a complaint against a clerk or an election official is investigated or dismissed. Chris, back to you.